It's your boy Teflon John coming to you courtesy of the I Am Teflon John brand and the Art of Reinvention podcast show. Tonight we have a great show called Understanding Human Trafficking. And we have a great co-host of mine who's a great friend of mine, Kelly Diane. She's also known as Kelly Galloway. But what we want to do now is just let her introduce herself and what she does briefly.
All right, hey everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Jonathan. My name is Kelly Galloway or Kelly Diane. If you follow me on social media, I am the president and founder of an awesome organization called Ramp Global Missions. We're a Christian humanitarian organization, and we exist to help the hurting, the lost, the hurting, the helpless, and those who have been exploited by human trafficking. And we believe in spreading the love of Christ, but we do it through serving. And one of our programs that we have, which is something that we're going to be talking about tonight, is Mona's House. And Mona's House is a restoration home for human trafficking program for human trafficking victims. And we have a Mona's group, which is like an NA or AA for human trafficking victims. And we also have outreach because the first and the best form of prevention is awareness. So those are just some of the things we do. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But I'm really excited to share with all of you who are tuned in tonight.
Yeah, that's great, Kelly. I'm great. Great to have you. I'm glad to have you on. I appreciate you being on the show. But just starting off, the human trafficking is the second largest global crime, right? Second when it comes to drug trafficking, and it's generating over $150 billion in revenue. And it's crazy because I never knew that. Like, you hear about human trafficking, and you see it in movies, but how serious is human trafficking and what exactly is human trafficking?
Well, human trafficking is a very serious crime, and it's a crime against humanity. And the reason why I said that is President Obama, he did something he said something so brilliant in 2008 during his State of the Union speech. He began to put a face or put a new name so that people would understand exactly what human trafficking was. And he called it modern day slavery. And that's exactly what that is. So how a lot of us, we think about maybe those of us who are of African American descent, and we know that our lineage can be traced back to slaves who were probably on plantations. And we think that slavery ended with the Emancipation Proclamation. However, it did not. Slavery is still alive and well today. And unfortunately, yes, it is the world's second most largest crime. And it brings in just an estimated $150 billion a year because we actually don't know. We just know that it's at least that amount of money. And the reason why it thrives so well is because it is a hidden crime. So you don't always know that you're encountering a human trafficking victim, or you don't know exactly what it is that you're looking at. So that's where I come in to spread awareness because the eye doesn't see what the brain doesn't know, meaning that people cannot identify, spot, or even help prevent human trafficking if they don't even know what it is that they're looking for or that it even exists. So that's why I'm just so grateful even for this opportunity, because hopefully somebody will watch this or listen to this and say, you know what, I didn't know that human trafficking is happening right in my own backyard. So just the latter part of that, you said, what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is just an umbrella, and up under it, it has many different forms, meaning that it can be sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ harvesting. Yes, organ harvesting, where people are cutting out organs and selling them on the black market. It can be forced marriages. It can be servitude. There's a ton of different forms of human trafficking. Those who are addicted to pornography. And they go to all these websites. Yes, some of the individuals on those websites are willing porn stars. But guess what? There's a large demographic of women, children, boys, and girls who are not, which is why in this last 7 days, Backpage.com was seized by the FBI. And 2 weeks ago, Craigslist shut down their classified ads because guess what? A lot of trafficking victims, especially underage minors, were being bought and sold and used for sexual gratification of Johns all over the United States of America and world, actually.
And it's amazing that all this happens like within, your county or within your city or your state, and you don't even realize that it's going on. And could you
Absolutely.
tell me where and how does a victim fall, where and how does someone fall victim to human trafficking?
Okay, well, human trafficking looks totally different when you go from country to country to country. I believe that the motive behind it is all evil, no matter where you go. But there are a lot of different driving factors that make individuals more vulnerable to become a trafficking victim. For instance, individuals who are victims or in a curse of generational poverty. That have a high propensity to become a trafficking victim. Foster kids and runaways have a high. They are the most vulnerable population in the United States of America. If we're gonna, I think we should focus on the USA for our conversation tonight. So, in the United States of America, our runaways and foster children are the number one target. Then you have refugees, then you have immigrants, then you have those who are addicted to drugs and opioids because they're chained to their trafficker or their abuser with their addiction. It may not be a physical chain, but literally they'll withhold drugs, and these individuals feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. When actuality, it's just their body has now become chemically dependent on this drug, so they're willing to do whatever it takes to feel like they're not going to die anymore, and that's how the trafficker gains control of them. A lot of people think, oh my goodness, I don't want my kids to go outside and play. I don't want I'm never going to let my children out of my sight. Well, my goal and my desire is to not spread fear, but to spread awareness, so that you know what to look for, that you know who is a vulnerable a population, so that you're not just living in fear and hovering over your children and denying them the life that all children need because you as a parent are so fearful. There are a lot of situations that do happen in the United States, but it's really highly unlikely. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to just see a white van just snatching up a whole bunch of kids or in the United States of America. A lot of traffickers use manipulation, force, fraud, or coercion to manipulate their victims. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of women and boys who feel like this person really loves me. This person really cares for me. So what they'll do is they'll try to isolate that person. And then once they do so much for you, buy you new clothes, buy you an apartment, pay your first and last month's rent, then they make you feel like you owe them. And if you don't do what they say, they're going to say, you know what, I'll hurt your family. I'll do this, I'll do that. And now you live in fear of what could possibly happen. And you find yourself becoming a victim of human trafficking.
So as far as when you talk about human trafficking, and everyone has this like pre-made up image of what it is, like a white van or someone, snatching up kids. But like you said, people
Media.
use,
It's media.
people use manipulation, people use relationships, people use power of influence. But can you tell us what signs to actually look out for so we can know if we see human trafficking?
Okay, like I said, human trafficking is the most hidden crime, but there are a few things that you can look out for. And if they seem suspicious, then I always tell everybody, listen, you can look up the number for the human trafficking hotline, and you definitely put that number in your phone and make sure that you know that. But anyway, some signs of a victim of human trafficking. Let's start with the youngest people. Let's start with the teenagers and the middle schoolers. So if you know that a child is really, really poor and their family is poor, then all of a sudden they start hanging out with the older individuals. They start coming to school with, name brand shoes and sneakers and clothes and jewelry. And like, how did you get that? What did you do? Who bought those things for you? A lot of times, if it's an older person or somebody that they're unwilling to tell you about, that might be a red flag for you to at least investigate a little bit more, or at least notify a parent or a guardian. For instance, I just did in Amherst, New York, a presentation. At Sweet Home High School. And when I did my presentation for all of the high school students that were in that auditorium, I had three girls and a young man come up to me afterwards, and they showed me their phone and they said, do you know this guy, Jonathan? Not you, Jonathan, but another Jonathan. I said, I don't know him, but he was just sentenced to prison for 25 years for trafficking out of a hotel on Niagara Falls Boulevard, and the youngest girl was 14. Well, they said, look at my inbox. He was in all of their messages like, hey, do you want Do you want to make $1,000 a night? Or, hey, you look so beautiful. Let's go out sometime. But he was a trafficker and he was molding them. So traffickers use a lot of social media, and a lot of children nowadays have way too much independence. Another a way that you may want to educate yourself is to see, you know what, maybe you see all these individuals, maybe they're not from the United States of America, or maybe they don't understand English, and every time you encounter them, it's only one person that always speaks. They never make eye contact. They always keep their head down. Yeah, it might be a possibility that maybe they are illegal immigrants, and maybe they are fearful and don't want to talk to anybody, but it's also a strong possibility that they may indeed be victims of human trafficking or forced labor. We had a situation in the DMV area where a gentleman called and said, "Hey, I have 8 women. It was 8 or 9 women that need to come in and get their teeth fixed." And the one of the workers at that dental facility had just gone to one of my presentations and saw some of my videos online, and they said, you know, they're gonna come in, they're gonna get their teeth fixed, and I'm gonna pay cash for everything. And it just raised a lot of red flags, like, hold on, you're gonna bring all these women at the same time, you're paying cash, none of these women have insurance. And so what we ended up doing is notifying the authorities, but I think they picked up after the receptionist got suspicious and started asking too many questions. They never ever showed up for their appointment, because a lot of traffickers, depending on what type of trafficking they're doing, if it's sex trafficking and they're high priced women or boys or men, they want them to look nice. So what they'll do, they'll find doctors or dentists or people that can help cosmetically enhance the beauty of these women, so that they would be worth more. So those are just some red flags, and people can always book us for, you know, presentations and things like that, because I know our presentation tonight is going to be just a couple of minutes, and we do have a lot more to cover. So yeah.
Okay, like I said, if we run out of time, I'd like to get you back on for part two because I believe this is great information.
Oh well,
And,
okay.
and talking about, how they take the kids in and make them look good. That's another thing too. Like a lot of people have this pre-image in their head that they're going to look poor or ran down. Now, when you're talking
Exactly.
about yeah, and when you're talking about these kids, right? Tell me, who are the targets? Like, who do they actually target, and what can people do about it?
They target those who maybe not have a strong support system. Some people who are easily manipulated, or somebody who feels like maybe a rich or entitled person. A lot of people think that if human trafficking does exist, it only happens in the inner cities, and it's not true. Because most of the victims that we assist right now are all from suburbia. They come from wealthy families. These children, these young women, were addicted to drugs, got somehow access to higher priced drugs and became addicted, and their addiction led them into trafficking because they wanted to feed this addiction, but mommy and daddy didn't want to do it. And so what did they do? They found somebody that was willing to supply them drugs if they if they allowed random men or women to have sex with them. So a lot of people think that trafficking is just, you know, chains and whips, but there's a lot of different forms to keep someone enslaved. For those of you who have ever heard about Mona's House, if you go to our website, you'll hear the testimony of one of our overcomers, where she doesn't share everything on the video. However, on the video, she tells you how she was hospitalized because her trafficker thought she was going to escape and beat her up so bad that he disconnected her kidney and her bladder. And one time, before that, she did try to escape, and they beat up her brother. He didn't know why that he got randomly selected to be beat up, but she knew. And so that fear of something happening to her family prevented her from wanting to escape. So there's a lot of, I would, right now in the United States of America, I, I would say the primary target is refugees, immigrants, and those who find themselves in vulnerable populations, whether it's because they're a runaway, a foster child, or maybe because they're a victim or their current state is one that is in poverty. They need money or they're addicted to drugs. So those are the most vulnerable populations that traffickers look for when they want to exploit someone.
So Kelly, like when it comes to human trafficking, and I can feel your passion. I'm pretty sure all the viewers do. Like, how did you get involved in trying to help combat human trafficking, and what are you doing to actually combat it?
Well, I always tell people that whatever your gift, your talent, or your treasure is, use it. God gave each and every one of us a gift, a talent, and a treasure for a specific reason. That gift, talent, and treasure may bring satisfaction to your life, or it may spark or ignite or awaken the calling in someone else's life. And that is what happened to me. I was on the receiving end of someone who was in cinematic arts. And so a lot of people know the movie Taken. Now, Taken is a very exaggerated movie. I'm going to say that right now. Yes, some of those things that you see in the movie do happen. However, they are really exaggerated because it's Hollywood, you know? So I was exposed to human trafficking through the cinematic arts. And the quote that I used earlier, and I use it in all my presentations, is that the eye does not see what the brain doesn't know. So I could be looking at this right here. This, we know that this is a pen, but if somebody has never ever seen a pen before, they don't know what it is, what it does, or they don't know its function. And so that's the same thing with human trafficking. I thought that I was just watching a movie. I didn't know that I was really that until the credits that this is really something that was really plaguing our society. So at that point, I said, you know what? Like I have to do something about it. But I was still in college. I was still, you know, poor, and not saying that I'm rich now because I'm not, but I just wasn't in a position where I was able to do anything other than pray. So I began to pray, I began to research, I began to partner with other organizations and educate myself on this crime, how it works, and how to restore the women that are victims. Because I knew I didn't want to go into law enforcement, but I knew I wanted to help the women who had fallen victim to this terrible crime. So I applied to work for the world's largest anti-human trafficking organization that specializes in aftercare. And at that time, they were only accepting like 6 to 8 people in the entire world, Jonathan. And
Wow.
glory be to God, like I was one of the people they chose. So I moved to Greece, and I received all the training I needed. And it was in Greece that I met a woman from the Dominican Republic who was trafficked and tricked to go to the
Wow.
country of Turkey as a maid. And there, she was forced to work in a brothel, escaped, made it to Greece, made it to our safe house, and there was something different about her. All the other women were mad, angry, depressed. But I asked her one time, why are you always so happy? And she said, Kelly, the sufferings of this present time aren't worthy to be compared to the glories that shall be revealed.
Mm.
And I know that one day I'm going to be reunited with my family. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to change the name of the shelter that we're going to open in Buffalo, and not and no longer will it be a shelter. It's going to be a restoration home, and I'm going to name it after you. And it's called Mona's House. And we work in 3 different ways: outreach. We open up people's eyes. We give people's brains information so their eyes can be open. We formulate groups all over the United States for women who have been victims of human trafficking, victims of any form of sexual abuse, and or willing sex workers, meaning that they wanted to be prostitutes, they wanted to be called girls, but I believe that in all of that, there's something that we lose when we give ourselves to other people in that way. And this group is to pour back into people and make them self-reliant, functioning members of society that are healed, whole, and effective. And then we have Wellness House, which is a restoration home for human trafficking victims. And the first one is going to be located in Buffalo. And the reason why it's in Buffalo is because Buffalo was the last stop on the Underground Railroad. Slaves knew that they can get to Buffalo if they want it to be free. And it's really funny how history is repeating itself, because Buffalo is going to be known once again as a safe place for women who are victims of human trafficking or modern day slavery to come and meet modern day abolitionists like me and the Mona's House family, and receive the healing, the deliverance, and the freedom that they need to be functioning members of society. So that's what we're doing. And right now, we're asking other people, hey, do you want to be an abolitionist? And people can volunteer, they can give, they can come, um, you know, uh, help us in a lot of different things that we do, and they don't even have to live in Buffalo. So I do have a goal to open up one Mona's House in every state. The way that it's calculated, I think I'll live to see about maybe 30, 32 open, and whoever is my successor, excuse me, will carry us the rest of the way.
Man, that's great, great information. Now, Kelly, now this thing goes in steps. Now we've identified the problem, which is human trafficking. We've
Yeah.
told a lot of steps of, giving you education. Can you give them direct details on where they can donate or how, different church organizations can get involved? Because I know some of the viewers that follow us,
Uh-huh.
are going to church and everything. And I know a lot of viewers are really passionate about, putting an end to this problem. But those who can't travel to Buffalo, those who may not have, a lot of money, what can they do to donate and be a part, and how can they do that?
Okay, so we have two websites. So number one, maybe you say, okay, I really feel called to other nations, and maybe I want to help fight human trafficking in other nations or work with orphans or street children. Well, visit my website at rampglobalmissions.com. That's RAMP, like reaching as many possible, globalmissions.com. And basically, on that website, you can sign up to go overseas with me. So, and then you can find out a little bit more information about Mona's House on that website. Or you can just straight go to projectmonashouse.com, projectmonashouse.com. And basically on that website, you'll find out everything about Mona's outreach, Mona's group, or Mona's house. And this is how I feel like people can get active. People can host an event. You can host an awareness event. You can book us. We'll come. We don't charge. We just say, hey, help us get there, and we'll do everything else. We'll even come up with the flyer. We'll help you market, because our goal is to get the word out so that more people can know about this, because the more people that know, the more effective we can be. Or you can host a fundraiser. We have people all over the United States that like, oh, I'm going to have a spaghetti dinner, or I'm going to have a costume party, or whatever, and we're going to donate the proceeds to Mona's House. Today, we got a random $400 check from somebody that had a conversation with me for 2 minutes, and they're like, you know what? I just want to do whatever to help. It's just a small seed or whatever. Another thing you can do is you can give me your hand. I have a project called the 500 Hands Project, where I'm looking for 500 people just to commit to giving $1 a day, which is $30 a month to help. So yeah, you can help raise awareness, you can help raise money, or you can help physically and come to the house or go overseas with me, or you can sign up on our website to open a Mona's group in your community. So that means you would be pouring into the women in your area who are victims of human trafficking, and we do all the training and different things like that. Our goal is to have Mona's groups all over the United States in several cities. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. That would be great. And not just me, but the women that you'll be helping, I'm sure they'll be ecstatic.
Kelly, now I have another question, like for all of our
Okay.
viewers, and I love how you preach to the point to where you didn't want to raise awareness by driving fear, and then everyone has to compromise the way they live. But how can a parent our age and our generation, what type of conversation do they need to have with their kids as far as trying to let them know what's going on and how to equip them on social media in case they encounter someone or a private message?
Okay, now this is like a part two, because I really need to. My goal this year is to really do parents for the prevention of human trafficking courses. Jonathan, I'm gonna be honest with you. It really boils down to having a healthy relationship with your child. That's what it boils down to, having healthy
Gotcha.
families so that children do not run away. So children feel like if I have a problem, I can go to my mom and dad. So they understand that when you discipline them or when you tell them no, that they don't have to run away. You let them know that there is a harsh world out there. And if they are big and if they're so big and bad to run out there, that there's somebody more big and bad out there waiting for them to exploit them, to do terrible things to them. As parents, you must be involved. You have to, anybody can carry a child or be a sperm donor. Really, you can. However, it takes a special, dedicated person to be active in the life of your children. And you have to, absolutely have to be involved. Children have no right. I don't care what anybody says. You can agree or disagree. Children have no right to have 100% independence, unsupervised activity on social media. You don't know who they're talking to. You don't know who their friends are. You don't know. You don't know if something is changing in the way they dress and the way they smell and the way they wear their hair. You have to be attentive to your children. I do not think you need to be overbearing, but you need to have a healthy relationship. And that goes down to the family dynamic. Do we know how to really have healthy families? Because if so, then our children will understand, listen, what you telling me right now, I got it better at home. Because there's somebody out there waiting to manipulate and exploit your child if they can. Have such a healthy relationship with them that they won't feel like they need to go anywhere else. Parents, I'm telling you, you can play such a powerful role in the prevention of human trafficking. Maybe not for your child, but maybe for your child's best friend whose mom is strung out on drugs, who is going from foster home to foster home. But maybe it's a reason why your child and that person and that kid are friends. Don't tell your child don't hang out with them. You pour into that child. Like, it takes a village. It takes a village.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm really passionate about healthy families. Healthy families prevent human trafficking. Yeah.
That's a great point, because you see it a lot of times where you have kids that are going through issues and they have no one to go to because they have a dysfunctional household. And so then you just see it, kids shoot up schools, kids do whatever. And then, like I said, it's easy to be manipulated by someone who's trying to receive you in, because you don't question
Absolutely.
the motives, because someone's finally showing me attention. Someone is finally showing me love. You know what I mean? So,
Jonathan, it's every area. You parents, they go in debt, not paying bills, and all this other stuff, and they got to work extra hours, and you're not home with your kids, so you don't know what they're doing.
you're right. You're right.
It's all of that. How you manage money, how you manage conflict, how you communicate. All that plays a role in this. It's all connected.
Yeah, you're right. Because social media, I believe, in this generation is getting out of hand. You know what I mean? Like, everything is within the click of a button as far as going live. Like, you are somewhere else and I'm somewhere else. And these how kids can interact with actual adults online. You know what I mean? Between inboxes and DMs. It's so much that a kid can get into. And I believe some parents believe that once they give them their cell phone, that's a way of keeping them occupied. But the thing is, you have to ask, what is actually occupying my child? Or am I
Yes,
checking in? Am I following my child? Like, if they're on Snapchat, you should be on Snapchat and following them. If they're on Twitter, you should be on Twitter and following them, because a lot of times, and I've seen it through coaching, once you see these kids' inboxes and DMs, it'll blow your mind that 10, 11, 12 year olds know what they know at that age. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And it's up for us
Absolutely.
to really step up and be leaders, because I believe now it's a lack of leadership in this country. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's taking people like me, Kelly, doing this broadcast, taking people like you that is raising awareness for these type of issues. And now we're just provoking people to think. And I hope people watch this broadcast, and when they get off, they actually think like, hey, what is the relationship like with my child? What am I telling my child? Do I have the type of relationship where my child is open to come to me? You know what I'm saying? So great interview, but look, we got to get you on here for a part two. It's got to be
Okay.
got to get you on here. Got to get you on here. But
Absolutely.
look, I
I'm down.
appreciate you. I appreciate you being a part. I'm gonna go ahead and let you close it out. You can go ahead and sum everything up, or put out what you want to put out about human trafficking that you really want to stick in people's minds.
Okay, I'm gonna do this in 60 seconds, guys. My pastor, I said something at our annual gala, and he said, after we showed all the videos, we told all the testimonies, they heard all the stories about human trafficking victims, some that I even shared with some of you tonight. And he asked him this one question. He said, "Are you moved yet?" For those of you who are on here and those of you who will watch the replay or listen to the podcast, I'm going to ask you that same question. Are you going to listen to the things that we said today and listen to those staggering facts and realize that, you know what, human trafficking isn't just something that's happening overseas, but it's happening right in your backyard? I don't care what city, what state, what county that you're in. I promise you that human trafficking, some form of human trafficking, is happening in your area. And I'm going to ask you this question. Are you going to log off, or are you going to keep off this broadcast, and keep scrolling up your timeline to see what the last person is doing, or who did what, who married, who's in a relationship or pregnant now? Or are you going to say, you know what, this is something that's happening in my community and I can take a stand, whether it's giving $1 a day, whether it's hosting a fundraising event, whether it's telling somebody to watch this video, putting it in somebody's inbox, or putting it on your Facebook page, or sending it, or making your child sit down and listen, or maybe it's organizing a fundraising event. You have the power to play a intricate role in the abolition of human trafficking victims. And I just want to know, are you moved to be abolitionist yet? And if you're not, then I think you should put your hand on your heart and see if it's still beating.
Hey, and that was Kelly Diane, and I'm Teflon John, and I'm just want to close it out with, you have the power, just like Kelly said, you have the power to make a difference. Kelly said earlier that God gave each and every one of us a gift, and it's up to you to find what that gift is and use it. Use that gift in order to spread awareness. Use that gift in order to provoke change and provoke thought. And if it's not human trafficking, there are other issues that you feel passionate about. We must do something. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to sit on the sideline where you're not in the game and yell at the coach and say the coach should have done this, the coach should have done that. But in this generation, we need people that are going to stand up and actually do, and that are going to actually fight. Get in the game. You know what I mean? Kelly is a great example. She's giving you websites. She's giving you things that you can donate in different ways. So you look, and we're going to put her information on there where you can contact her and really get involved, because we have real issues in this country, and it's bigger than Donald Trump. We have real issues in this company. I mean, not in this company, but in this country, and it's bigger than Donald Trump. And like I said, we're just going to continue to pray for our youth, continue to cover them under the blood of Jesus, and just continue to pray for your family, because truly this is a praying time. We have a lot of things going on in this country, and truly the signs of the time are actually showing. But we're going to continue to pray. Kelly, thank you again for being a part of the show. And we'd like to thank you for just spreading awareness, just, stepping up and, shielding these young people that are victims of human trafficking. And we thank you again. And I'm just going to sign off. And as I always say, one love, be blessed.
Bye.